lovely humans. I'm so glad that you're back practicing with me. I wanted to share something from a book I'm reading called The Naked Now by Richard Rohr. And so we're going to start off this practice just with a reading, and then this will be a pretty mellow practice, getting into some deeper stretches and breathing. So you can go ahead and settle into your comfortable seated position. Really rooting the sits bones down, lifting up through the crown of the head, placing your hands comfortably on your knees or your thighs. And go ahead and close your eyes and really let your heart and your mind and your spirit listen to these words. And Richard Rohr says, I cannot emphasize enough the momentous importance of the Jewish revelation of the name of God. It puts the entire nature of our spirituality in correct context, and, if it had been followed, could have freed us from much idolatry and arrogance. As we now spell and pronounce it, the word is Yahweh. For those who speak Hebrew, it was the sacred tetragrammaton of Yod, He, Vav, and He. It was considered literally unspeakable for the Jews, and any attempt to know what we were talking about was in vain. Instead, they used Elohim or Adonai in speaking or writing. This unspeakability has long been recognized, but we now know it goes even deeper. Formerly, the word was not spoken at all, but breathed. Many are convinced that its correct pronunciation is an attempt to replicate and imitate the very sound of inhalation and exhalation. The one thing we do at every moment of our lives is therefore to speak the name of God. This makes it our first and our last word as we enter and leave the world. I remind people that there is no Islamic, Christian, or Jewish way of breathing. There is no American, African, or Asian way of breathing. There is no rich or poor way of breathing. The playing field is utterly leveled. No one and no religion can control this spirit. When considered in this way, God is suddenly available and accessible as the very thing we all do constantly: breathe. Exactly as some teachers of prayer always said, stay with the breath. Attend to your breath. The same breath that was breathed into Adam's nostrils by this Yahweh. The very breath that Jesus handed over with trust on the cross, and then breathed on us shalom, forgiveness, and the Holy Spirit all at once. And isn't it wonderful that breath, wind, spirit, and air are precisely nothing, and yet everything? Just keep breathing consciously in this way, and you will know that you are connected to humanity, from cavemen to cosmonauts, to the entire animal world, and even to the trees and plants. And we are now told that the atoms we breathe are physically the same as the stardust from the original Big Bang. Oneness is no longer merely a vague mystical notion, but a scientific fact. And so taking that idea and revelation of breath into our yoga practice, let's bring all attention to the breath, beginning to notice and observe your own natural way of breathing. Noticing the sensations that the breath causes in your body. Feeling the coolness in your nostrils as you inhale, and the warmth of the breath as you exhale. Noticing the sound of inhalation and exhalation. And allow yourself to recognize that sound as the name of God. That in that very breath, that very sound, you are then connected to the divine, to God, to love, that just one breath is a prayer. You can begin to deepen your breath, slowly expanding into the belly as you inhale, lifting up through the ribs, and coming finally to the chest at the top of the breath. Exhaling slowly from chest, ribs, and contracting into the belly to push out all of your air. Inhaling, belly, ribs, chest, and exhaling, chest, ribs, and belly. Continuing to breathe just like this, slowly, deeply, with intention, allowing your body to create its own natural rhythm, and allowing each breath to bring the sensation of closeness and intimacy to God, to Spirit, and rest here, knowing that you are deeply and profoundly connected to love, and that by knowing that this is all you have to do in order to be connected, let all anxiety, striving, and working fade away as you come into this presence of divine love. You can gently open your eyes, drawing yourself forward onto all fours, bringing your wrists directly underneath your shoulders and legs hip distance apart. And we'll start with our cat and cow, flowing with one breath, one movement. As you inhale, you can drop your belly, lifting your heart and your gaze. And exhale, press into the palms, dropping the head and the tailbone and rounding through the spine. We'll go ahead and take a few rounds just like this, moving at the pace of your own breath. And making your way back to a neutral spine, you can begin to walk your hands out in front of you, keeping your hips high, coming into your puppy pose, allowing your heart to melt in between the shoulders, feeling that sensation in the shoulders and the upper back, and holding here for a few rounds of breath. Every exhale, creating a little bit more space in the body, and coming back up. We'll make our way to our down dog, pressing into the palms a lot, lifting the hips. Take a few moments here, pedaling out the legs, one knee, and bending the other knee. You can reach your right leg up and back, extending it long, and then bring that right foot forward, coming to the outside of the right hand. So both hands are on the inside of the leg. We're coming into our lizard lunge. You can drop your left knee down. And staying here either on your palms or dropping down onto your forearms. And sending the breath into that right hip, creating more space there. Lifting back up onto both hands if you've come onto your forearms. We're just going to heel toe this right foot over and drop down, coming into our pigeon pose. Making sure that your hips are square over the body. And when you're ready, you can fold down onto your forearms or your forehead if you like. And really begin to melt into this pose, breathing slowly, deeply, with mindfulness. And you can begin to walk your hands back up, planting both palms on either side of the leg. Lift your hips and reach that right leg up and back, stretching it out and shaking it out in any way that you need. And then drop it down to meet the left in your downward facing dog. Reaching your left leg up and back, you can bring that left foot forward to the outside of the left hand, setting up for lizard lunge on this side. Dropping your right knee down, you can settle into this pose, either staying up on your hands or dropping down to your forearms, just like on the other side. And go ahead and lift back up. And heel toe the left foot over towards your right side, dropping down for pigeon pose. Bringing the hips to square over the body. And when you're ready, melting down to forearms or forehead if you like. You can always stay supported on your palms as well. And go ahead, begin to walk yourself back up, planting both hands, lift the hips and reach that left leg up and back, shaking it out, and then drop it down to meet the right in downward facing dog. And you can drop to your knees, come into a child's pose, releasing the forehead down. And walking your hands towards your knees, we're going to come to a seated position, bringing the soles of your feet together, allowing your knees to splay apart. We're coming to bound ankle. If this is enough for you, you can stay right as you are. If you would like a little bit more, as you exhale, you can hinge from your hips to fold over any amount until you find a comfortable stretch. Still deepening the breath, creating space in the hips, staying connected to that breath, to that presence of divine love that's all around us with every single inhalation and exhalation. And walking yourself back up out of this stretch, you can extend your legs out long, keeping the legs together. Thighs are engaged, feet are flexed with toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Sitting up really tall through your spine, you can inhale, reach the hands up, and exhale, hinge from your hips to fold over the legs. You can grab onto your feet, ankles, or shins, keeping your spine long and reaching rather than rounding through the back. And we'll hold here, really melting into this forward fold, getting into the back of the legs. And you can begin to lift back up. We'll cross the right knee over the left, working to stack the knees as best you can. If you can't stack the knees, don't worry about it. Just do your best and don't bring any pain into your knees or body at all. You just want to feel the stretching sensation in the back of that right hip. If this is enough for you, stay here. If not, same thing. As you exhale, hinge from the waist to fold forward and melt into your pose. And you can begin to lift yourself back up. We'll just reverse the cross of the legs, bringing left knee over the right. This side might be totally different from the other. That's absolutely fine. I know mine is. And same thing, finding what's going to work for you on this side, folding over if you like, and then melting into the pose, letting every exhalation create a little bit more space, and really feeling every sensation that's happening in the body. And go ahead and walk yourself back up. We'll come onto our backs, hugging your knees into your chest. You can gently rock from side to side, massaging that low back. And keeping your right knee hugged in, you can extend the left leg out long, dropping it down to your mat. And drawing the right knee across the body, using the left hand as the right arm comes out long. We're coming to a spinal twist. Allowing the breath to grow even longer, soothing your nervous system and calming mind and body. Go ahead and hug that right knee back in and extend it out long, dropping it down to the mat as you hug the left knee in. You can draw the left knee across the body using the right hand as left arm comes out long to your side, taking the spinal twist on the opposite side. And you can go ahead and hug that left knee in, maybe bringing the right in to meet it, giving your whole body one last big hug, and then coming into your Shavasana, your final resting pose. You can extend your right leg out to the right corner of the mat, and the left leg out to the left corner of the mat, allowing palms to face upward at your side, rolling shoulders under the back, and releasing every muscle in the body to be 100% supported by the ground. Closing your eyes and letting go. Remembering that you are surrounded by divine love. You are connected through every breath. That there is absolutely nothing more that you need to do to be connected to God, to the divine, and to simply be and to breathe. With every breath being a prayer. And allow yourself to rest in this knowledge that you are enough, that you are loved, that you are not forsaken.